This podcast is a part of Straight Up Strange Productions. Discover more shows like this one at straightupstrange.com.
Welcome to Folklore on the Rocks.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Folklore on the Rocks. I'm Logan.
I'm Lindsay.
Yeah, and we are back with another great creature, a good drink, and some fun. Well, I don't know. We actually don't have any stories, but we've got our own little lives and our own little stories to tell.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we've got a good time here planned. So we are going to get going. Now, I like to pretend that nobody reads the episode title. So we can do a grand reveal right now. So this I like. Imagine yourself. You're going down the still waters in Northeastern India. You're on the river and it's just, everything's quiet. You hear the birds in the trees, the monkeys, and suddenly you see what looks like a log rise out of the water. It's kind of bluish in shape and has rows of spikes down it. And suddenly one big side of the log opens it up, and it's an ambush predator. And it is tonight's thing, the Buru.
Ooh.
Yes.
I'm excited. I don't know much about it. I know the teeniest bit, just because I've seen a few pictures, and that's about the extent. So I'm excited to learn along with everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm happy to discuss it with you, Lindsay. But first, we're gonna need a drink, aren't we?
We definitely are.
Yeah.
So our drink for tonight is the Buru.
The Buru.
If you like rum and Coke, you're probably going to like this. I'm personally not a fan of Coke, but it's all right as a mixer. I love Long Island iced teas, and Spain actually has this amazing drink called calimocho that's half red wine and half Coke.
I've had that, not under that name, but I've had that drink.
Yeah, it's under a few other names in other places too, but Spain's where it came from, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But a friend mixed it up for me one night, and I was very skeptical. I mean, it's red wine and Coke. Of course, I was skeptical about it, and it was delicious.
See, and I've come to really appreciate the rum and Coke over the years. It's a drink that almost every bar in the world can make. You don't have to explain it to even the most novice of bartenders. Those two ingredients, mix them together.
They're probably really satisfied when people order rum and Cokes because they're like, "Oh, I got this.
Oh,
done."
Yes, I'm gonna nail this one. But this is like a rum and Coke, but a little different. With
the calimocho, though, I really wanted to talk about that a little bit more. Just because I was with the whole red wine and Coke thing, it sweetens the wine up, and then it dampens the cola taste a little bit, so it just mellows both flavors out, which makes it really good.
Now, this the drink that you had,
and that's not our drink for tonight.
No, and we're not talking about Spain, but I will always talk about a good drink.
We'll feature it another time. But
yeah, now it should be noted that typically as a mixer, if you can get the sugar-based Coke over the high fructose corn syrup, of course it's going to make a better drink.
Not the stuff that is made here in America, basically.
Yeah, what is commonly referred to as Mexican Coke here in the United States.
Because it's easier for us to get it, but it's all over the world. That's the sugary stuff.
It's really anywhere but America Coke. It's the metric system of Coke.
Exactly, the better sugar.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the Buru, we have 1.5 ounces of dark rum, 4 ounces of cola, or enough to fill the drink with, half an ounce of amaretto liqueur, and you garnish with a cherry or a lime wedge. So if you guys don't know what amaretto is, basically it's a liqueur with an almond flavor. But surprisingly, it may or may not contain almonds. So the standard base of the liqueur is usually made from either apricot pits or almonds, or sometimes both. Mm-hmm. And then it can contain, a number of added spices and flavorings, just like a ton of other alcohols do.
Yeah.
The word amaretto is Italian for a little bitter. And it's good on its own. It's good as a mixer. It's really good as an addition to coffee.
It's excellent as an ice cream topping.
And as an ice cream topping, there we go.
Yeah.
But to make the Buru, basically you fill a Collins glass with ice. A Collins glass is a tall, thin tumbler. It's narrower than a highball glass. And you pour the rum and then the amaretto, and you're going to top it off with the cola. Stir that well, and then just garnish with a cherry or lime wedge. So it's a super, super easy drink to make. Amaretto can be found everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of an easy one to gather the ingredients for.
Yeah, you may even already have them.
But it is nice. It is still summertime here in Utah, and it is getting toasty.
Oh my gosh.
And so this
So
is
warm.
a nice drink for a warm summer night. Boy, we did just have the 4th of July, which is America's birthday. How was your holiday, Lindsay?
It was interesting for me because I didn't have any specific plans.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to stay home and experiment with playing D&D online via Roll20.
Cool.
And it was actually really fun. I found a couple of games. I played in those. Everybody had fireworks going on outside their windows. So that
And it's
made that
kind of just
interesting.
pickup groups, right?
Yeah, it's just a one shot.
It's
I
like
just
a drop-in
brought the character
hockey game, only with magic.
who shows up. The DM there interviewed a few people just to pick who he wanted for his party, and then I just used my character from our campaign because I knew her pretty well.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. It was something very different to do.
Well, cool. I'm glad you're getting that experience. I'm lucky enough that I've had friends that play D&D for a number of years.
Yeah, you have way more experience than I do.
Yeah, and so this is a really fun new. Our little campaign is kind of it's people I've never played a role-playing game with before. We're all adults, which is a fun thing, and most of us are performers and actors. So our
everybody
group
but me.
Well, yeah, but Lindsay, you're our brain and our conscience. So
Typically, yes. In the best
and kind
way.
of and my D&D news. I'm afraid I am going to retire my tiefling warlock. It's not so much that I'm not having fun with him, it's that I'm not really thinking of a great way for his story to turn out to not be a villain. So he's coming back as a bad guy later on.
Which will be really fun.
We're going to battle him for trading sides. And my new one is a dragonborn sorcerer. Why? So he can become a dragon when he grows up.
Those wish spells, man.
Yeah.
Gonna be great.
Wish is there at level 20.
It'll be really fun.
Yeah.
But instead of 4th of July news, I guess I have news of what's coming up for me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
So this weekend I'm going camping, and I can tell you where because by the time this comes out, I'll be leaving within
You
a
will have
few
scorched
hours.
the earth and no one can find the path you
Exactly.
took. Yeah.
So it's a little less weird and creepy. Not that anybody would come find me, but it's just strange. But anyway, I'm going to a place called Moon Lake here in Utah. And it's up in the mountains. Beautiful lake. It's got kayaks, boats, fishing boats, paddle boats, fishing all over the place. But apparently it's one of the most haunted places in Utah, which I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So apparently there is a ghost of a little girl there, around 7 years old, and she appears in broad daylight. And
Ooh, a diurnal ghost.
She is soaked, she's shivering, she's crying, and she'll ask you for help if you see her. And as soon as you reach out to help her, she just disappears into thin air.
Whoa.
So she's appeared to campers and hikers for years, and even if you don't see her, sometimes you'll hear a child crying, or you'll hear some loud splashing, like somebody has fallen into the lake, but you'll look out and everything is totally calm. At night, you might hear ear-piercing screams or even more loud splashing, or sometimes footsteps running across your campsite.
Ooh,
so I'm really
spooky.
interested to see how this goes.
Oh, what a fun thing that's going to be. Unfortunately, my next week is a little quiet because my 4th of July had a bit of a mishap. I did get a boo-boo. Let this be a lesson to everybody out there. Drink your water in the summertime.
Yes.
I know we recommend a variety of different drinks, but no one ever says often enough, drink your water. We live in the desert. I am a desert creature, but after a series of events, I ended up not having enough water and losing consciousness. And that
Never a fun time.
Yeah, and that did land me right on my old noggin and get me a couple of stitches to the coconut. And so we'll see what happens from that. I got a shiny new scar. Hopefully not too bad.
Hey, scars are cool, right?
They all come with a story.
Scars.
I've got quite the collection by now.
Sure.
Yeah, but until the stitches come out, I'm just kind of taking it easy. Don't want to run the risk of a concussion now.
Good call.
Yeah, no offense to anybody who's actually had a concussion. They're very serious, nothing to laugh about. Now,
we are glad that you do not have one.
yeah, me too. Otherwise, I'm still rehearsing for my play, still putting that together.
I'm excited to see it.
Oh yeah, it'll be fun. I have not acted in a long time, at least in a formal theater setting. So this is something different.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I like the way that my definition of a formal theater setting is going to be a bar with drinks served to audience members.
Oh, I'm so much more excited.
As often as possible.
I go to many plays that we have friends in, and I never get to drink there, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's a different thing for Utah. I'm not sure how it is in other places in the world, but this is kind of a new thing. I'm not sure if it'll be a thing that catches on. We'll see how well it goes.
We'll just have to make it catch on. Make sure everybody comes to your show.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'll keep talking about it. We open in August, and should be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Before we get started.
Oh, okay.
Real quick.
We're packing our bags. We're going someplace far away, so make sure we got everything.
But we need to talk about something super cool that's happening on Patreon.
Something super cool? I love super cool.
I mean, another super cool thing other than our addition of a folktale story each time we do one of those episodes. In case you didn't hear that from last week. After all of that, it occurred to me that we could put all of our past stories onto Patreon just by themselves for you guys if you want to refer back to them or listen to them on a car ride or a train, or even notably like listen to with your kids or your nibblings if you have them.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird thing. Because we are both passionate about folklore and drinks, that has earned us the explicit tag on iTunes, which is fine.
Yeah.
We're happy to discuss the more adult topics, and I love that we have an audience of adults. The deal is I do recognize that many of our listeners may have kids. And if you're going to listen to a fairy tale, maybe you want to share that with your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's culture, and we are 100% the more culture, the better for everybody of every age,
Yeah. Plus, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those will be clean. They will not have any commentary with them.
Yep. Just cut and dry the story, the Logan
Perfect
narration.
For sharing.
They will be. So we're gonna go through all our past episodes, grab the stories out of there, and tuck them all onto Patreon. It's going to be available for all of the tiers, just like our extra folklore stories. So you can contribute whatever you can out of those tiers and still get access to them. But we figured, it might be really nice if, like Logan said, if you don't want them necessarily listening to a show that involves drinking. We totally get that. But
I know
you
it's
might
not for everybody.
Yeah.
Just because I enjoy it doesn't mean everyone has to.
True.
So,
and you might want to have them hear some fun stories from around the world. Maybe your significant other or somebody in your family really likes folklore, but also doesn't like drinking or something, which is fine. But they want to hear some cool stories. That's a great way too, So this is definitely a great way to get easy access to a bunch of tales, and they'll be labeled, like where they're from, what episode they're from, what they're called, all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it'll all be on there. It'll all be really great. I think it'll just be a really nice addition to Patreon and a nice little bump of an extra for you guys.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean, really, my hat goes off to Lindsay for kind of stepping up and really making sure our Patreon is something cool. She's really putting a lot of work into it. I'm trying to catch up, but really, she's
other cool stuff coming down.
She's set the bar high for what goes into our Patreon. So really, if anyone feels like going over and checking it out, if you can donate, thank you so much. If you can't, I totally understand. But yeah, that's a really cool thing. So thanks, Lindsay.
You betcha. I'm just excited that we're getting some content on there for you guys. We've been neglecting it a little bit, and we shouldn't have been, but life is what it is. yeah,
it does come with the philosophy of what do we put out there for extra content, as opposed to what do we not just put in the regular show. But I think as we kind of put the show together, and as it got its legs underneath it and kind of hit a flow, well, then it started to make sense a little bit what could be on the extra side of things.
Yep. So we've got more stuff in the future that we'll be adding, but these are definitely for sure things you can count on coming down the line. I won't add them all at once. They'll be as I'm able to pull stuff out and post them. But eventually everything will be on there, as well as any new episode in the future too. So keep an eye out for those. Anyway, let's talk about the Buru.
Let's talk about the Buru. Okay, so we have talked about, the happenings around Salt Lake. We took a stop over in Spain to have a quick drink, and now we're back on the plane. We are going all the way to India, not just, mainstream Bangladesh, India. We're not going to, the places that people actually have been or they shot movies. We're not going to Bollywood, India. No, we are going to a place up in kind of, if India was like overlaid a map of the United States, the northeastern part of India is an area called Arunachal Pradesh.
Is that where the borders Nepal?
Yes, so it is sandwiched. Actually, everyone is kind of used to Nepal being northern India. Nepal is actually further west than this part. So Bhutan is between.
Oh, gotcha. It's like the point.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like the New England, Maine area of England. Yeah, so it's right near Tibet, and it's got China right on the side of it. Now, it is still on the west side of the Himalayas, so it does have still a whole lot of mountains, but it has a really rich and broad river that goes right through the whole thing down toward Bangladesh.
Cool.
And this river is called the Brahmaputra River.
Brahmaputra.
Yeah.
That's a cool name.
I'm hoping I'm saying it correctly.
I couldn't tell you one way or the other. One thing with the Himalayas, okay, so I was listening to Astonishing Legends one time, which is another podcast. They are wonderful. If you like this kind of stuff that we do, you would love them too. But I digress. They said one time that it's the Himalayas, apparently.
Himalayas?
But colloquially,
I would not be surprised.
Colloquially, we know it is the Himalayas, so we'll just say that. But it could potentially
Western
also
society
be that.
has done a really great job of deliberately misunderstanding
We're real good at that.
The area and everything that having to do with it.
So yes, we recognize that there may be different pronunciations of the Himalayas.
Yeah.
/ Himalayas. They're both really cool names.
I should send a tweet out to the 200 people in line at the top of Mount Everest right now, because they have nothing better to do.
Oh, totally.
They can discuss it among themselves. Perfect. Is it Himalayas or Himalayas? We got to be able to say the right thing when we get home.
I guess they could just ask their guide. Usually, don't they have a guide with them?
Yes, they're Sherpa, which I learned. Okay, fun fact about the Sherpa: they're more Nepal than India. But anyway, fun thing about the Sherpas. Let's see if I remember it. I don't have my notes in front of me for them. So anyway, I usually claim that I'm like a Sherpa for the Salt Lake City Valley. I work as a local guide occasionally for movie crews when they come in to scout locations and they come into town and don't know where anything is. I'm their helper monkey.
Very cool.
In shorthand, I for years have just called it Sherpa work. Why? Because when a film crew comes to Utah, they want to go up the mountain. That's always, it doesn't matter what they're filming or what they plan on filming. Before the shoot is over, they want to go up the mountain.
Well, it's so pretty. Why wouldn't you?
So I take them up the mountain, and so that's always been so Sherpa is both a people that is native to that area, but it's also the job of mountain guide. And it's a one word with two meanings. If you hire a Sherpa, they may or may not be a member of the Sherpa people.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's something I learned on some other news story about those people who are constantly waiting in line for the top of Everest.
Heard it somewhere at some time.
Yeah, so it must be true. Yeah. That being said, if you're planning on climbing Everest, there are better things to do. I will Photoshop you a selfie on top of it, and you don't need to go put some garbage of some oxygen tanks and maybe freeze to death on the top of that mountain. Go do something else. Yeah.
I mean, if you're super into mountain climbing, good for you. I could never do it. Yeah. So props there.
So so on our little cross country air trip, we passed Mount Everest. We waved at all those people up there. They waved back because they're just freezing, waiting in line for their selfies. And we land right near the Brahmaputra River in an area called Rilo.
Okay.
Yeah, Rilo it's in this
Rilo Ren.
Rilo Ren, yes. It's in this Arunachal Pradesh region. It's heavily forested. It's right between a great big mountain and forest area down into this great big river. Now, what we talked about from the scene that we set at the beginning here, this is a river monster. The Buru is really, if you want to talk about it from just the quickest shorthand of like someone says, oh, you're going to the Arunachal Pradesh, huh? Watch out for the Buru. Then they say, well, what's the Buru? It's like a crocodile, but bigger. Watch out for it. And shorthand.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, that would get their point across. But it doesn't fit with any crocodiles that we know. Now, it could absolutely be just a big crocodilian lives in this particular region. And if it did, it would probably have more of a gharial diet, being more fish-based than jump out and eat people, because it seems like it's pretty elusive. It's not something that comes out and suns itself or anything like that. It has very kind of restrained behavior. Now, it could be as simple as a crocodile or a monitor lizard. There's been a lot of thought that it might be a monitor lizard because of the description of the head. The head is supposed to be something between a crocodile and a snake, where it has finer scaling along it and a kind of a smoother texture. And when you hear that it has some snake mixed into it, well, on one hand, it could be a snake,
sure.
But it also tells you that it's got some different features than just a long-snouted,
doesn't just look like
crocodilian.
a crocodile. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so the illustrations I've seen, it has a rounder snout and a more kind of bulbous head to it.
What's the? Sorry to interrupt. What's the difference between a monitor lizard and a Komodo dragon?
Oh,
aren't they very similar looking?
Komodo dragon is a type of monitor lizard.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
Like
Komodo dragons
like a
are just
monster is like that too.
The Gila monster is a regular lizard. I don't believe they are a monitor.
In my brain, they're all just lumped together in like large lizard creature.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm a lizard enthusiast. I would not call myself a herpetologist. If anyone is looking for some really great information about reptiles, especially towards people who might own one, I would recommend let's see, Clint's Reptiles on YouTube.
Clint sounds like
Clint
a great
Laidlaw.
guy.
He's, for a BYU professor, he's an okay guy. He's very passionate. Like at first I'm like, BYU.
No, my gosh. No, it's funny because I feel exactly the same way about Brandon Sanderson, who's a fantasy author. Yeah. He teaches at BYU, but he's one of the best fantasy authors I've ever read. And when I learned he was a professor there, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
We have to explain. BYU is a local university. It's a
that
private,
is not the cool one.
It's a private university, and it's run by the Mormon Church, basically. Which if you know about Utah, you probably know about Mormons.
You've heard of them, yeah,
or Latter-day Saints or whatever. But it's a specifically private school. They have like a strict honor code. It's everything that most normal people don't want in college. All these restrictions and like
and it does provide families that want that kind of environment, a place where they can learn and uphold their own beliefs and everything like that, and that's cool. That's what America's all about.
And it has its problems just like any other campus does. But it's for Logan and I, we just kind of roll our eyes at the fact that it is what it is,
We both attended the rival school, the University of Utah.
Yeah, so they're automatically our rivals, so we kind of have to dislike them.
Yeah, but Clint Laidlaw, a zoology professor, he runs a YouTube channel that is Clint's Reptiles. Definitely check that out if you like reptiles at all. It's become one of my new favorite channels.
Awesome, I love it. I'll have to look it up and learn more about lizards since I don't know anything. Apparently,
he's just universally enthusiastic about the creatures he's presenting, and a lot of the time they are creatures that most people might think are ugly or dangerous or not something to be loved. And Clint can find something to love about them.
That's so sweet. I love when people are so into what they're studying. Like, they dedicate their life to it already because it's their profession, but they are just overly enthused about it and are like it's just bubbling over and they want to share it. So they have stuff like a YouTube channel or like a podcast, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's just fun to have to share in someone else's passion.
Yeah.
And I guess that may be why people are listening to this, or maybe they just like to hear us talk. I don't know.
But side note, I did find a super cool, there's this really neat snake. I sent you a link earlier. I don't know if you saw it. But
that was a super sweet snake you sent me. I know that. Yeah.
A sunbeam snake, and it's iridescent, which is like my favorite thing in the whole world. And so it's like silvery, but it has this iridescent sheen to its scales.
Yeah, it looks like a beetle or an oil slick or something like that.
I've never wanted a snake more in my life. I totally want to get one now. I love a danger noodle. They're so cute. But yeah, anyway, I just saw that and I was like, dude, Logan will love this. So you guys should look it up. I'll put a link in our show notes, but it's a cool looking snake.
Super cool. Yeah, and you know, owning reptiles is not for everyone. They can be challenging pets, but learn to appreciate them from afar. They are valuable members of ecosystems. And I don't know, when a creature doesn't have to evolve for a couple million years, it tells you they must be doing something right.
Yeah, snakes, sharks, they know what's up, man.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, so we're going back to India. Now, we talked about how it could be a crocodilian.
Right.
Let's add that to the list as far as possibilities for what the Buru might be. It may not be the most exotic conclusion to this story, but I love that there's a very real possibility that this is a real creature that they just haven't documented very well.
And I mean, them saying crocodile or whatever gets across the point that, hey, this is dangerous, stay away. So if they said maybe some of the other things that it could possibly be, it makes it suddenly less threatening, I guess.
There's actually quite a few things it could be. So we talked about a crocodile. In looking at the illustrations, I haven't found a whole lot of documentation that says and it reminds anyone else about it. But its head shape looks far more amphibious to me.
Okay.
Than reptilian. With that round kind of pod-shaped head. It really looks in many illustrations like a hellbender salamander. Just huge.
Just a really big one.
Because we know those things
like a few inches long.
Usually. Yes. Mm-hmm. They can get up to like, I think the biggest ones are 14-ish inches. Like they're big-ish, but they don't get man-eater size. They did though. There are prehistoric salamanders that were gigantic.
Like the giant sloth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Megatherium, the ground sloth.
So cool. Sloths, man.
One of my favorites. But
best.
So yeah, it could be like a giant salamander type creature. And that would account for spending so much time in the water.
Okay. With
such a limited data set. Most of what we have are from reporters, and a couple of scientists went down in the 40s and after and got reports from local villagers. And there were a rash of sightings between 1940 and I think somewhere in the 60s, and then they just kind of died out. This was not something that it was very popular to continue seeing, or it could have moved elsewhere or died. I don't know.
I hope it didn't die.
I hope it didn't die. But salamander, a possibility.
Cool. Check.
The other possibility that I kind of like, just thinking again, there are a lot of creatures that can breathe air, that eat things on the surface, but spend almost their entire lives underwater.
I want to do that.
And I just get this kind of itch on my back that it may be a chelid. A snake-necked turtle. So that's all they see coming out.
I'm just picturing like a turtle with a really, really long neck. Is that basically
and
it?
You would be correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually an older body type that was evolved, and it's not very effective. Oddly enough, Clint Laidlaw does a far better video on this than I do.
We will link it.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of turtles in the early days of that body type, they would retract their head any way they could. And they started turning their head to the sides, and that works around having a very long neck, but it also does expose the neck when the head is withdrawn. So in many ways, it's seen as kind of a disadvantage, but it would create that creature on the surface of just a head snaking up out of the water. Now, also, the obvious answer is it could be a snake. A snake, S-N-E-K. Yeah, it could just be a great big anaconda type thing out there.
A very big danger noodle.
Yeah, but it doesn't coil around things. It just grabs things.
So it's not like a constrictor snake. It's some other kind of snake.
Indeed.
Slithery snake.
Yeah, and it was under Ralph Izzard. Or Izzard. You know, maybe
he's related to Eddie. Yeah, I hope so.
Maybe.
That would be great.
That would be great. But nevertheless, he was a pretty good scientist and a fighter for the British Office of Naval Intelligence. And, well, he went and documented a lot of things from the area. One of the things that he, got a lot of are reports that there is a monster in that river, and they're pretty congruent with each other. It's got these colorations. It could be kind of a dinosaur thing, although really the behavior of only living in the water, coming out only to feed. They haven't found a lair for it. They haven't found a nest or anything like that. To me, it seems a little bit more aquatic than terrestrial in nature. And you want to know what I really think it is?
What?
I think it's a goonch, Lindsay.
Pardon me?
A goonch.
A goonch.
A goonch. Oh, yeah.
So
we have to.
What's a goonch?
What's a goonch, you say? Oh, well, the goonch is, well, you're going to find out. So,
I am on pins and needles. Tell me more.
The goonch is a real thing. It lives in South Asia, in Sumatra, Borneo, and
so a little ways away from this.
A little bit of ways away, but not implausibly far away.
Gotcha.
It is known under the scientific name Bagarius yareli, and it is known as the giant devil catfish, or goonch.
Is it a catfish with horns?
Catfish that it looks like a sea monster for sure.
Cool.
And they can get up to 2 meters, 6.5 feet for us Americans, long, and weigh over 200 pounds.
Damn,
it may be
dude.
the largest species of catfish. They, too, were thought to be a myth until they were found.
As many things have happened, for sure.
Yeah, and it's a catfish. It's got a great big mouth, and it just sucks in stuff and swallows it whole. Let's see. I'm not sure you could catch it with just one arm wiggling in the water. That's not something we do here in Utah. We don't get a whole lot of catfish.
No,
but
we don't.
That is something that some humans have been noted to do. But I think
a TV show about it.
I think it may be a goonch, Lindsay. Think we got ourselves a goonch in that there river.
All right.
Yeah, it's just that is a classic, not a classic, but is a real river monster. It's a freshwater giant catfish.
So do you think that the anatomy that we've heard about lines up with the goonch?
Well, there are some reports that it's got fringes down its back, that it's got discernible legs, but
isn't that weird that's weird for a catfish, right?
That is catfish do not have legs.
Yeah, I was like, that's not catfish thing.
Yeah. Now, there has also been some conjecture that it could be a lungfish, which is another kind of lobe-finned fish, so called because it can actually come out of the water and bask in the mud.
Okay.
Or move from mud hole to mud hole.
In my brain, I'm just picturing in those animated videos trying to explain evolution, right? Mm-hmm. And you just see like a fish and then it starts to sprout little legs and it walks up onto land. That's what my brain is thinking, like that stage of evolution.
Just get some legs out of someplace. I don't know.
They just pop out. No, it doesn't work that way.
So most accounts say that the Buru is 12 to 15 feet long.
Damn.
It has smooth skin on most of its body except for a ridgeline of 3 large I call them kind of fringes, but they're hardened. I wonder if they're like an
fins,
osteoderm kind
not?
of thing. Could be. Most of the time they're drawn like crocodile spikes, just 3 rows of them going from their head all the way down to their tail.
Okay.
And that's kind of the distinctive feature on it. Now, there are some reports that say it has a mouth with flat teeth, and sometimes it's described as having sharp teeth and a forked tongue, so it may be a reptile after all.
Flat teeth are always creepier. you know, because you expect things like that to have sharp teeth because you think about crocodiles or alligators. And then just like, I'm just picturing like a crocodile with molars.
Yeah. And that could very well be a possibility.
Or like buck teeth. It's a little weird.
Yeah. Well, India is a place of really rich fantasy. It has some really cool monsters that come from there. Not all of them are based directly on what is just immediately around. There's some pretty far-reaching stuff from folktales. But the Buru is kind of a little bit more grounded.
More cryptidy than fairy tale.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to come in and steal your children off to a whimsical land. It'll just eat them.
Stay out of the water, kids.
I have seen one illustration that went so far as to take these 3 rows of scales and combine them to one kind of cluster down at the tail, effectively creating almost a thagomizer or spiked tail that can be used as a weapon.
You and your fancy words.
I love that word. That's one of my favorite words.
Thagomizer?
The thagomizer. Okay. Now this is I'm gonna ruin the times that I get to say this to anybody else because it's now on the podcast. The thagomizer. It was a if you're ever wondering
can't use it on dates anymore.
Nope, can't do it. The spiked tail at the end of a stegosaurus didn't have a name until Gary Larson featured it in one of his Far Side cartoons.
Classic Gary Larson, man.
Yep. And it was named because let's see it. We'll find the cartoon and put the link in
totally.
it. I'm sure the artwork will be far funnier than my description of it. But essentially, if I remember correctly, it's because they were trying to remember the late great Thag, who was its latest victim. He was a caveman. You see, it just kind of propagating that particular reality that cavemen hung out with dinosaurs. Nevertheless,
which is not true. Yes.
It was the first time it was officially named, and the name stuck. Paleontologists are known for having kind of a sense of humor. I mean, they're weirdos. Their work is just digging up dinosaurs. So when they're like, Thagomizer, that's a pretty sweet name, actually. Let's do it. So yeah, the Buru may have a Thagomizer, probably not. Typically, the Thagomizer or tail clubs, you don't see them on water creatures. That is a terrestrial feature. Yeah, it's something to carry around and fight with.
It's not very dynamic in the water. They can't move well, right?
In the water, you see more fin appendages or just long, sleek lines for streamlining.
Right, they have fins that are like movable, like to be able to put it towards the side of your body or something.
Yeah. So, because of my natural love of all things dragon, I do kind of want him to be a reptile, but just looking at the only available evidence, I can't quite say that for certain.
Okay.
So yeah, it could be a lot of things. If it does live, it definitely lives in the river. There are
that's like the commonality between everything, right? The river.
Yeah. Let's see. It does have. It has been noted that it is capable of short bursts of speed. But again, I feel like some of that could just be expected behavior based upon the assumption that it's a crocodile-like animal.
I was going to say that's kind of crocodilian anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Most of the attributes you could describe to a crocodile, there is some conjecture the Buru could do the same thing, which more and more lets me think that it may just be a big monitor lizard or crocodilian that we just haven't properly documented.
Sure, and there's no reason it couldn't be, right?
Yeah. And hopefully we haven't hunted to extinction already.
Probably have. But I mean, there's creatures all over the world that we have not discovered yet. I mean, we're discovering new species constantly.
And you know what? You want to know my real thought as I researched this creature? I kept thinking, why, oh, why wasn't this thing featured in Far Cry 4?
Right? Yeah. Come on, man.
That was set in Kirat, which is a fictional region of India that is kind of in this area in northern India, kind of in the Myanmar or Burma region, near Nepal, and it has wildlife from all over that area. They get really creative with what really would have lived in this fictional part of India.
Maybe that's why they didn't do it, just because it was potentially not a thing that existed. But it would have been a great monster for that game.
It would have been a good one. I feel like... So they actually had challenge creatures that were kind of the apex form of the different animals you could find in the game. And I just can picture you get somebody requesting a Buru skin. And you have to go to the riverbank and set out just the right bait, maybe at nighttime, because that's when it comes out to feed, and stay very quiet. Don't let it smell you before you know. And there's a lot of aspects to this creature as far as how you might hunt it. I feel like if I needed to catch one of these alive, I would use tactics very similar to hunting a lizard or crocodile. You throw down some bait and near where it lives and watch. And
but don't go hunt it.
Don't be the bait. Yeah,
if you're going to do it, like,
goal.
At least just do it, get it on film or something rather than kill it. Let it be.
Yeah. So I actually couldn't find anything more fantastical about the Buru. Maybe that's why this is kind of, we have made the effort to focus on lesser known cryptids, the cryptids that not everybody does. And that might be why. There are no reports of it breathing fire or changing into a butterfly or anything like that.
But it would be cool.
It's kind of just a big lizardy creature that lizards around near the river.
Oh, that lizarding.
Yeah, I bet it's... so in D&D terms, I bet you I would call it a beast. It is kind of... It's about animal level intelligence. It's instinct driven and it will defend itself if cornered or threatened. Probably doesn't have resistance to a whole lot. It's just kind of I want to say mundane animal, but it's not really mundane. It's very special in its own way.
So because it's rare and it's still a threat. Like it's still dangerous.
Yeah, it's rare. It's a threat. It's eaten a lot of farm animals, or something has eaten farm animals,
right.
and people have disappeared. But there's a lot of things that that could have made that happen. But I like the way that this story hasn't really been embellished. It was a good enough story to start with and hasn't grown and hasn't said this thing was 150 feet long and there were 12 of them and they all stacked neatly on top of each other.
Exactly.
The story didn't become a tall tale. It's pretty plausible on its own. We've seen creatures like this in the fossil record. There are animals like this that do exist in this area of the world. Just not this particular region.
Right. Well, and I mean, this kind of feels like how the Groot slaying was to begin with. And then as the Dutch settlers came in with the Groot slaying, I think it kind of shifted into the fantastical creature that we know of now, the diamond eyes and the elephantine features. But this is like before that, and it never got to the Groot slingy place.
Yeah. And I feel like that's because, it survived colonialism a little bit differently.
Right.
It wasn't really recorded until after a lot of the changes that Western civilization put in place. And I'm not really sure what else there is on that one. They did weather the storm of cultural appropriation pretty well. But I feel like because there's no drive to find the mouth of this particular river, maybe there's no drive to exploit what's there.
Sure.
I do know that, of course, India has been exploited over the years, very much so. But this particular region maybe just didn't have as much that was desirable at the time.
Mm-hmm. There wasn't some random Dutch hunter wanting to hunt down the Buru.
Yeah, these I wouldn't be at all surprised if some Rudyard Kipling type person heard stories about the Buru,
sure,
and decided that would be their quarry for the week. And I'm sure that did happen, and those people maybe never came back. So
then that just adds even more credence to the fact that it's dangerous.
When monster hunting please try to come back alive so you can write things down.
Yeah, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the Buru. I wish it was kind of more magical, but part of me loves that it's not. It does what it do, you know.
I love that it's something that could easily be real, you know. That it has mythical properties in the fact that like no one knows exactly what it is, and it's been said to be many different things.
Yeah, but I have not heard anything on here that lets me think that the Buru is implausible in some way.
Sure, yeah. No, I agree. I mean, everything about it seems like it could easily just be a creature that nobody's figured out what it is or has looked like yet. Or maybe we've discovered it and we don't know that yet. Or it's just lying in wait, waiting for some super awesome scientist to go find it, and who knows?
Yeah. And so it really could be a little bit of anything. But I hope that it's something. I hope that it's not just a story. I would really love it if this one turned out to be real.
That'd be great.
That's really satisfying from a cryptid perspective.
Sure. I mean, like what? The aardwolf, right? That's a creature that
like the aardwolf
was a cryptid and has since been fully discovered and is a real creature.
Yeah, and now is just an animal. And it's something that is worth protecting, and it's something that fits in the natural world.
Yeah, and lends credence to the field of cryptozoology, too.
Yeah, exactly. It also implies that our science is capable of growing and advancing.
Which it should, because that's science. That's how it works.
Yeah, it's as much as we know for now.
Yes.
And sometimes that's easy to forget until we discover something new, and that kind of turns everything else on its head.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much what I've got on the Buru.
What are you thinking alignment wise?
Oh, alignment. I would say probably true neutral. It doesn't seem like it doesn't ravage villages for fun. It doesn't steal gems or anything like that. It just kind of, in anywhere else in the world, you'd just say, oh, it's the big lizard that lives in the water, or the big amphibian that lives in the lake.
Buru don't care.
Buru don't care.
I can see true neutral. You know, like it's
true neutral.
Attacks if it needs to attack if you come around. But otherwise, it's just food, man.
Yeah, it lives in its own little spot, and as long as you're not there, you're good.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I put it. I put it just right on the same level as animals and things that are part of the natural world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could maybe say like neutral evil, just in case it needs to be a monster in your campaign or something like that.
Oh yeah,
or like something sinister has happened and some sort of magic is involved in that regard.
If I were to use it as an antagonistic creature, I would go the usual route of it lives in the water, and some pollutant or some corruption has gotten into the water
and corrupted it to become whatever.
Yeah, and it has become something far more terrible.
I like that.
Yeah. I also am reminded in Pamela Jekyll's The Third Jungle Book, which is a compilation and continuation of stories that Kipling wrote.
I didn't even know that existed.
She had one. It was less popular, but still very good. And one of the characters in it was Jacala, Tyrant of the Marsh. Jacala was a crocodile who was just ruler over the muck, and all that Jacala could survey from the low hill on which he sat belonged to him, and his jaws meted out justice to any who would fall between them.
So like a lawful evil kind of thing.
Lawful evil, yes, maybe.
I could definitely see like the Buru fitting into that vibe really easily.
Yes, maybe.
I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So, any other things on Buru, or should we move to our promo?
Oh, I think let's just go for the promo.
Cool.
Let's share the love.
Sounds good to me. So our promo this week is for the show Kills and Chills. And these two have a show about death, true crime, the paranormal, weird stuff in general. So there is a very good chance, since you like our show, because you're still listening, that you will love this show as well. So here is the promo.
Check it out.
Hey guys, I'm Dan.
And I'm Ken.
And we're from the informal podcast Kills and Chills. We cover anything from serial killers, assassinations, missing persons cases, you name it.
Yeah, and then we also cover anything having to do with the paranormal, cryptids, and conspiracy theories.
You can find us on all major podcasting platforms.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
All right, so give them a listen. As always, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Folklore on the Rocks. You can find us on Twitter
at Folklore Rocks.
Pictures, notes, sources on folkloreontherocks.com. Again, we have a Patreon, like we talked about earlier in the episode. We also have a PayPal button on our website if you just want to make a one-time donation. We are still doing free stickers if you want to write a review and send a screenshot in to us. And then we also ask, just please rate us and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, on Facebook. Anything like that is wonderful. Once we hit that 100 reviews, we're going to do that bonus episode with a listener selected creature, and that could be anything, So if you really, really, really want an episode on Bigfoot, this is your chance. And other than that, just tell your friends. Word of mouth is the best marketing we can possibly get. If you don't like us, tell your enemies. Just spread the word, and we appreciate you guys listening and hanging out with us all the time. We love it. We love doing it. We love making it for you.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for listening, and just tune in again next Sunday.
Yep, we'll see you then. Everybody take care of yourselves and everybody else. And thank you just so much. We hope you can join us again. We'll have more, creepy creatures, fun stories, and delicious drinks.
Yes.
Here on Folklore on the Rocks.